Bobby. What's happening?
Yep, thanks
All good?
for making it.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
Nice car you got here.
Alright.
I don't know which one I would pick actually. I think that one still. Start this off an easy one. On Friday last week, I was asked about how do you pose with the car.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to give 3 typical Mark Rain poses. What I said, okay, pose number 1 is definitely sitting, leaning on the car.
Yeah.
Then pose number 2, definitely cross legs like that. And then the third one out of the book.
What year did you join Mercedes-Benz?
2002, 1st of July 2002.
And you were, how old were you back then?
I was 20 back then.
20.
Yeah.
And you were studying in?
Germany. I was very fortunate. I got a scholarship from Mercedes-Benz to go study through them.
And did you study anything regarding marketing or whatever?
Business management,
Business
normal.
And you have a background in marketing? No.
I specialized in sales and marketing and finance and controlling.
When you were studying that time, or when you entered?
No, when I was studying.
And before that, have you always been like, I want to work in a car company, or specifically Mercedes-Benz?
Honestly, no.
No, right?
No. I would be lying if I would say that.
Yeah.
No. I mean,
But were you a car guy when you teenage years, and of
Yes,
course you are
but,
as a German?
I still remember the first time I sat in the new 7 Series of friends of my parents. I thought, wow, what a car. Probably at the same time, if I would have sat in the S-Class, I also would have said, wow, what a car.
Yeah.
But I was not brand specific linked to Mercedes-Benz, because also a lot of people who work in Mercedes-Benz in Stuttgart, their parents worked at Mercedes-Benz. That I don't have that family connection or history with Mercedes-Benz.
And it started from the scholarship, then you understand the brand more.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
the affection grew.
It might sound a bit sleazy, but I found in Mercedes-Benz a new family. So because I grew up in South Africa and my family is widespread across the globe, and I came to Stuttgart to study for Mercedes-Benz, and I found an organization which looked after me, where I found nice people to work with, which it just felt right.
So you were not actually from Stuttgart?
No, I was born in Berlin. My dad's from the UK, my mum's German, and I grew up in South Africa.
You're truly a globalized.
In that sense, yes.
So that means that time you would have gotten into any other German car company.
Yeah, probably.
You might.
I mean, I must say, Mercedes-Benz was the quickest to act. I was living in South Africa, and I knew I wanted to go back to Europe. But I was looking at the London Business School, and I was discussing with my dad what to do. And then we came across that scholarship program from Mercedes-Benz. I applied, and they called me up pretty quickly and said, well, can you come and do an interview? And in my application, I said, if you want, I'll fly over on my own costs to do the interview. And they said, okay, can you come over next Friday? I said, I'm just writing my A-levels, can I come the week after? And they said, yes. And then I got a ticket and got into
What kind of kid were you back then? Were you like the troublemaker, or the good boy, good grades?
I would say somewhere in between.
Were you always that determined? Everything that you do?
No.
Or there was a point where you grew up?
Something snapped.
I would say I grew into that. I mean, at school I would say okayla.
Yeah.
At university I got better, and for me I think I found in what I do, the company I work for, and the whole environment. That's where I found my true north, my real sweet spot.
And your character, it's more
that's probably
your father or your mom, anyone in your family.
That's unique to me. I think people hated me as a kid because I was hyperactive or something. I don't know. So no, in that sense.
Yeah.
I was pretty shit. I was a pretty shit kid. I was like last class. I smoked in schools. I skipped classes. The only thing I didn't do is fighting and all that stuff. But It amazes me because it's the way you do things.
Yeah.
I think that from what we see.
Yeah.
I think it's the experiences which shape you, and one crucial thing which I found out for myself, I wasn't going to stay in South Africa, because that would have been always the easy route, because I was very.
Who were you staying with in South Africa?
My parents. We were living there as a family. In the South African context, I was very privileged. I went to private school. I had fairly wealthy friends, and they were living the good life. If you
Can
could
you
say.
speak Afrikaans?
I used to. I kind of lost that somewhere along the way. I actually wrote my A levels in Afrikaans. So, but,
Really?
But I've not spoken Afrikaans for like 17 years or something. And I said, no, I'm not going to stay in South Africa. I'm not going to do I wanted to kind of not break out, but kind of explore the world a bit. I mean, now Stuttgart is not exploring the world, but I wanted to move out of home. I wanted to stand on my two own feet, and and that's where kind of the journey started. And I was very fortunate because I found where I ended up at Mercedes-Benz, a lot of people who supported me, a lot of people who I liked, who liked me. It instantly, I kind of found my footing, because now if you're like 18-year-old or something and you move from a foreign country back to Germany, and you're young, you're uncertain in what's happening and so on, it can be difficult. But I found people who then I instantly connected with.
It was such a huge group. I can't imagine. I mean, you started working in Mercedes-Benz after you graduate, right?
Yeah.
And is there somebody that you met who basically how do you climb up? I mean, I'm sure a lot of people
Help you along.
were taking the scholarships,
Yeah.
right? We're trying to go into Mercedes-Benz, and who is that person?
I mean, when I started off, there were 3-4 people which kind of looked after me in different kind of ways. One was my immediate manager, who was kind of half fatherly, half friend figure, who because it's a big organization and so on, and he kind of nurtured me coming into the job. Then I had somebody who taught me a lot, or two people who taught me a lot, who gave me a lot of the basics in terms of how to do the business, but also to always be critical, to be ambitious, to challenge. I think one of the big dangers is if you work in such a big organization that you can grow complacent. That's a very, very big danger. Staying hungry is something which you need to do, because if you work in a startup, you need to stay hungry, because otherwise you're out of business. Yeah. If you work in a global corporation, you're 1 out of 300,000 or something. It's not that immediate. There's not that immediate urgency.
The same year you go into this study, there must be like hundreds who are the same batch with you, right?
42. It's 42. A very, very small kind of scholarship program.
And at the same time, there are other programs from Mercedes-Benz as well, from other places?
Yeah, no. Limited. Nowadays more, at that stage limited. It wasn't at that stage, I mean, it's 17 years ago.
Some of your same batch colleagues, you're still in Mercedes-Benz? Working back in Stuttgart? Or?
Yeah, or in other positions. I'm going to meet one in Korea again. So yeah, they're spread around the world.
But I would say you climb pretty fast, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was always that's the other key person. I've got somebody in the organization who's looked after me to guide me in my career path, and now I can be very lucky. I've not applied for a job formally within Mercedes-Benz. I've always been like, okay, here we go. Yeah. So now I started off in Stuttgart in sales steering, sales controlling, market management. Yeah. From there, I moved to Dubai. From Dubai, I moved back to Stuttgart, become executive assistant of one of the top management, and from there I moved to Malaysia. And now next step would be Korea, or will be Korea. So it's been very stringent in terms of moving up the ranks.
I always have this impression that a big corporation like Mercedes-Benz, if you were like the shining one. Yeah. I'm not specifically saying Mercedes-Benz, but big corporations per se. You have to face politics. You have to face all kinds of stuff.
Unimaginable the amount of.
And it's amazing that when we first saw you, it was like, how old is this guy? It's like, really? Wow. Yeah.
And then he met me, and then he said, okay, but just send him away just to not annoy
I
the
was
shit out
like,
of
he
them.
must be a cousin of Dieter's
Nope.
or something.
No family ties, no connections,
Nephew or something.
no nothing.
And then when we saw how you work, we were like, fuck.
This guy is something.
Yeah.
No, but one thing I must say, I've had individuals and organization put a lot of trust in me.
Yeah.
When I look back, I think like, how could they? No, I'm joking. But I still remember I was 26. I actually turned 26 when I moved to Dubai. I was 25, turning 26.
Yeah.
Became general manager for the Middle East for sales and product management.
26.
Yeah.
And it's not easy.
And especially, I mean, couldn't have known, because when I moved there, the Middle East was still growing. It was like no boundaries.
Yeah.
And then 6 weeks later, Lehman Brothers, and boom, Dubai crashed.
Yeah.
And the amount of S-classes we had on stock and moving cars and market completely stagnant. It was, at that stage, I didn't know where left and right was. It was very, very interesting. And I mean, it's also the financial impact you have. You know, Middle East being very, very high-end car market, so it's not, we're not talking about 50 A-classes left or right. So it was very, very interesting back then. But it kind of shaped me as a person also. On the one hand, always be daring, always be decisive, but know your facts. And for instance, one of the things is sales funnel tracking is crucially important. Look at your walk-ins, look at your order bank, all of that. I mean, now that's very technical. Yeah. Now you guys see mostly the PR marketing side of me, but the technical basics to it are crucially important. Otherwise, you go tits up.
Okay, you were 26 when you arrived to Dubai.
Yeah.
Right? As a GM. Where do you find that composure as a 26-year-old to arrive there and start fucking people up?
I did not start. No, but it was an interesting one, because the Arabs, I mean, it's different. If you look at,
it is the Arabs.
If you look at Asia, I would say, I mean, I'm now categorizing a bit.
Yeah.
Asia would be about face. The Arabs are about pride. It's interesting to understand the cultural differences and the psychology behind it. And if you know that, you can work with that. So now, when I arrived there, they thought, okay, who's this young guy who's like hardly out of university? Most of my trainees were older than I am. But it's the years before in Stuttgart, I acquired the knowledge of how you need to work together in terms of product management, all of these things, and that greatly helped me to prove myself through competence. And it's not, you know, leadership has different components and aspects about it. So you have to, and for me, a good leader is not that leader which has one certain style. He or she needs to be able to play the whole piano kind of what...
That personal trait of yours has always been, you've always been someone like that, right? Even in schools.
I think you
know
always
your
grow and you always learn, and you should always progress. I'm not saying change, but progress. So if you look at me now in comparison to 3-4 years ago, completely different in a way, and also it depends on which people you work with, what the situation is. So if you come new into an organization, you cannot throw tantrums from day one.
Yep.
Now today I throw probably the one or other more tantrum. No, but it's also you cannot always do the one thing. It's so it really depends on the situation. It's also, for me, the most important thing is that you realize with your actions and your behavior what effects you have. So if I'm now nice guy or I'm apologetic. That might be because it's the right thing to do at that right time. You know, you cannot always bash dealers or employees, or it needs to be. It needs to keep the balance. You need to. Very important is recognition, reward, recognizing what people contribute. It's, you know, for me, it's always. I mean, now we talk a lot about me, but everything I have achieved is always what we have achieved. Now maybe I might have had the impulse to give it in a certain direction, but if you see any of our launches, I'm just the one who's kind of doing the showpiece up front.
It's always a team effort.
And the team effort is so substantially important, you know, that the alignment is there, that they perfectly cooperate, collaborate, and it's also it's recognizing what it's recognizing all stakeholders.
You always need that guy. You always need that guy.
You need the dealers. You need the agencies, the event companies. You need your own team. So it's a wide field of people who you need to all run in one direction, because you can. I mean, that herd can only run as quick as kind of the slowest one. So it's.
I'm trying to make an observation. I mean, your numbers speak for itself. From the day you joined MBM to today, your sales have doubled. But more impressively is the people working there, all right, have been more or less the same people that were there before you came in.
Yeah.
You oversaw a complete cultural change in the company without people actually throwing.
You know what's amazing? That remains true with Mercedes-Benz Global as well. Dieter Zech has been there from the early 2000s when Mercedes was losing out to all the competitors, and Dieter Zech is still there. Mercedes climbed back up.
But I mean, it's like, first of all, it's leadership, it's corporate culture, but it's not, I don't believe that they're complete idiots and complete superstars. So you'll have always the law of averages in every organization, and you might have to make individual changes, but you need to, you need to motivate people, you need to give them direction, you need to be decisive in your actions, they need to be able to depend on you. I mean, I always say I'm renowned for my 180-degree turns, because I say I've got a very, very strong view on things, but if people can convince me that I'm talking complete rubbish, then I'll do a 180. But also explaining why you change your views or opinions is important, and communication, alignment, getting people to work together, backing people. So I could give you examples of certain individuals which they'll never be the Usain Bolt, but they'll do the 100-meter sprint nowadays quicker than they ever did in their life. And that's what you need to kind of install in an organization.
But what amazes me is that the change that I see in Mercedes-Benz, not just Malaysia, not just in your context, the change that I see and the outcome of what they are now, what they were globally, fits your narrative as well. And then it was like
coincidence.
That's the thing. And then I was like, it's the same boss, Dieter Zech. You know, when he launched the G63, he showed the outline of the Mustang, the outline of the Jeep,
right?
And
then there was a 911 as well.
911. Then I was like, that's a different Mercedes-Benz. And he walked out in khakis or jeans, or was it? Then he was holding the door handle of the G63. He was like, this is the only thing that we kept. I was like, was he like this? You know?
He's also gone through a transformation and progress. I mean, if you see him probably, I've had spells where I was a little bit closer, and I'm obviously far away from him.
You know what it seems to me? It's almost as if there is a menu that this is how Mercedes people should behave now, because that's what I see in them but you.
But it's so
natural.
Sorry to say that, but it's essentially wrong. There is no menu.
Exactly.
The world is too complex to say, okay, this is your guideline.
Exactly.
You need to form an organization which is critical, which thinks about their actions, which then reflects. Reflection is a crucially important thing. Now, we all do mistakes, and mistakes need to be, people need to be able to do mistakes,
That's
because
what
otherwise
amazes
they
me.
will cover up and then reflect on it and how to do it better. So I could tell you now 10 stories of things which haven't gone so well over the last 4.5 years.
Yeah.
But the thing is, what you learn out of that for the future, that's the important part. Doing that reflection and how can you execute improvements into the organization. So it's also, for instance, we have a lot of platforms and discussions with our dealers to say, okay, where are we doing well? What could be improved? And then let's learn for the next one.
Weren't this always in place all along? For the past 10, 20 years, right?
I mean, in
I'm
any
still finding that change. What changed in Mercedes-Benz that resulted in all this? And you, Mark Rain, the guy who was sent to Malaysia, is behaving exactly like what was changed. And
Maybe
I was like,
maybe I came into the organization and grew up with that change process.
Yeah.
That might be the case.
I'm still finding that change. What happened inside that?
I mean, it's
amazes
on the one
me.
hand, it's, I would say, 100 years, Mercedes-Benz was always there and everybody else was there.
Yeah.
Kind of now, I'm over-exaggerating.
Yeah.
And then, cold turkey, we fell from the sky.
Yeah.
And suddenly, the BMWs and Audis and whatever of this world overtook us, which was like a never thought to be
and it was so far away at one point.
Yeah, but that's also the automotive industry for you. It's not you launch a new phone and kind of 6 months down the road you're back in the game.
Yeah.
Product life cycles are 7 years, development life cycles even start before that. So in order to have a substantial change in the product portfolio, which needs to be kind of the basis of which you kind of start that transformation of a company. So when we were getting, and I still remember 2012, we were getting thrashed because of especially Q1 sales and stuff like that by the analysts and so on. At that stage, we already knew, okay, we just have to hold through until end of 2012 when the new A-Class comes, and that's the game changer, which we knew already was coming, but you can't fix it on that specific day.
Yeah. But during that point, you guys were so far behind. Right? I remember your competitors are somewhere like 1.5, Audi was about 1.3, you guys were 1.1.
Yeah.
I remember before you came, annual Mercedes press conferences, the total number always included commercial vehicles, right?
First thing I took that out.
But now you can exclude that and still put a nice number to show that you are the number one premium brand.
Well, also, for instance, communicating what we've achieved, what our strategic objectives are with, I mean, obviously not going into the greatest detail because that's obviously competitor sensitive.
I always believe it's
information.
people. It's people. It's not your life cycle. It's always people.
That the organization allows that to happen. That's where you have to go into. What is the background, or how did you come to that stage, and what tweaks you need to do to the system to kind of correct that. That's the thing.
2015, Carlos Ghosn did a global PR campaign about himself. When I saw that, I'm like, this guy has to go. This guy has to go because you are already manipulating.
But that's also where I say having rotation changes, people moving on. Also, best example, I now move out of Malaysia, go into a new country. A new person comes in, he might have great new ideas. I mean, I would hope that he kind of keeps a certain portion and adds a certain portion. But that's why I say growing complacent. At some stage, however good you are, you'll get into a normal rhythm. You need to think out of the box. You need to challenge yourself. So having that kind of rotation of people in different jobs, also maybe somebody who comes in with a different experience from a different market might now add a different spice or direction to it, which then is beneficial. So that is very important.
Globally, any marketeers that you personally respect or admire, or regardless of car company, that you sort of know?
Now, the most obvious one, you need to give credit to Elon Musk. He is the best guy for the car industry. Why? Because the car industry overall was fast asleep for the longest time. I mean, the car industry is still the only industry which operates in such a traditional business model, if you want it. And without Elon Musk, we would be still all in daisy sleep now, I say.
Yeah.
So irrelevant what he does with Tesla or what the future path is with Tesla, he shook up the industry in such a instrumental, substantial way.
And at the same time, he runs a rocket company, right?
Sometimes you need to think...
Who would do these two things at once, you know?
Yeah, but you need to have these extremes, these madmen, because there's a saying between being crazy and being brilliant or being a genius. It's a thin line, and you need maybe sometimes these people who are creative, who are these kind of genius minds, to kind of just push boundaries, to kind of also to have just a different approach to things, to be innovative, to be progressive, to be provocative in a certain way. And maybe if you need to overstretch it to come back to a kind of norm which then works, because otherwise you would always be in your comfort zone, and you need to drag a certain industry out of the comfort zone. I feel it's they're not key individuals, but it's organization, it's teams who've kind of, it's people who have shaped certain organizations or given direction, which is important. And it's probably, it's not the top guys, but it's the kind of middle management which has the biggest impact, if you ask me. It's the top management giving the basis or allowing your organization to excel. That's what you need to kind of do.
Would you, if one day you bump into him in a cafe, and then he was like, come on, help me.
Help Elon Musk?
Maybe not now.
Depends on, I would challenge him on a lot of things and see how he reacts and see if he's, there are a lot of things, I smile when I see that they launch cars which somehow everybody thinks, okay, are never going to happen, and then they somehow do happen, and it's a marketing tool. But he's playing a high stakes game.
Very.
He's playing with a lot of people money. He's playing with a lot of personal lives. So you need to be always aware. We're not playing Monopoly.
Yeah.
So yes, be daring, but be conscious of the daring decisions you do.
One day, I trust. I think we said this.
Have you
a few
met him?
times. No. What I mean is, we had this conversation. We trust one day you will definitely be up there somewhere, and we hope to see that.
The question is, do I want that actually?
Oh yeah.
Or
halfway you met Elon Musk in a cafe.
No, it's something which the job I do today, I love doing, and I love getting up in the morning, chasing people, being passionate about what we're going to do in Myanmar this month, if it's now 6 or 7 cars. I actually enjoy being in the trenches and doing that. I'm not sure if maybe I'll grow into that if I just want to sit in board meetings and not disrespectful to that, but I enjoy what I do every day, and the further you get to the top, the further away you get to a certain degree from working with people, working in the operative business. Now, it's also, now there we talk about progression again, that's also the way of life. I probably, if I would be offered that opportunity, you know me by now, I'm as ambitious, and I would grab it and I would run for it.
Anyway, I think, thank you so much for this interview. And it's something that we really wanted to do, and when we heard that you'll be leaving Malaysia. And I think the reason is because I think I've never met anyone I'm short in this career, 11 years, not too long, but we've never met anyone that's like you, and that affected our market that much. And we hope, we want the betterment of the industry. You know, we want everybody, every brand to behave like what you did. So thank you.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you so
It's been great fun working together with you.
Absolute
Yeah.
pleasure.
It's running on